1968, I graduated from the University of Pennsylvania. Then in 1969, I went to the University of Cincinnati, got a master's degree. And my father said to me, do you want to go into the family real estate business, or do you want to go in the family furniture business? I looked at him and I said, I want to go in the furniture business. He went, no, you don't. It's much easier in the real estate business. I said, no, Dad, I really want to go in the furniture business. So that's how I got into the furniture business. One day at lunch, a rep said to my father, I just did a horrible job for your company and your buyer's no good either. We're both too old. I think it's time your son became a buyer. And my father looked at me and he looked at the rep and he said, okay, but you've got to teach him. And the rest of that afternoon, the rep taught me to be a buyer. And that's how I became a buyer. And then I became in charge of marketing for our stores. And then my father had a bypass. And in those days, which is early 70s, bypasses weren't very common. There were only 3 places in the United States that did it. He went to Cleveland to have his bypass, and he almost didn't come home. So while he was in the hospital, I had to run the business. My father comes home, finally, thank goodness. He looks around and he says, well, you've been running the business pretty well since I left. He said, I'll find something else to do. And he did. And my father let me really truly run the store in that I put in stores within stores. We put in galleries. We were one of the first stores in the United States to put in galleries. We started with a gallery from Century Furniture. We had a Drexel gallery, we had a Thomasville gallery, and we really helped get the gallery concept going across the country.
Carrie and I were students of the late 60s, and that's when women's lib was just getting popular. And Kerry was like the first man I ever knew that really got women's lib. I was trained as a teacher. I was not a business person, and he brought me in when he was going to go into the computerization of his business, and he taught me what he was doing and how to program and how to help him. I didn't know anything about that.
I wanted to go to work for the most powerful company in the industry, the marketing powerhouse in the industry, the company that trained almost every single person in the upholstery business in those days, which was Stratford. So I called up the head of Stratford sales, and I said, you don't know me, I don't know you, but here's where I live and I'd like a job. And he said to me, he said, you're not going to believe this. He said, but this morning, 10 minutes ago, the rep in that part of the world that you want to be the rep in resigned. He said, get in here for a job interview. So they hired me. And I worked there for 12 years. I started as a rep on the road. I worked in northern Florida and southern Georgia. And then I became a VP, then I became a senior VP. And the highlight, I guess, of what I really accomplished there, well, there were a lot of things, but one I'm really, really proud of is I really developed the motion furniture business in the industry. When I went there was no motion furniture business other than recliners. And People Lounger had launched a sofa. And 2 of my dealers told me about this sofa. And I went up to Chicago and I said, guys, we got to get in this business. And I brought them a modular sectional from Drexel, and we turned that into a thing called Grand Opening. And I don't know yet today there's been a motion group that has ever outperformed Grand Opening, because for 6 years it did over $40 million a year. And you're talking $1970.
And we went to Stratford, and he had all these dreams and all this vision, and he couldn't do it himself. So I said to him, what can I do that doesn't need your brain? And he taught me what I could do that would help him, and he could go focus on what he really needed to do. So we developed this great partnership. We worked side by side for years and years.
Eventually, I got tired of the job. I decided to go to the October furniture market and look for a job. So Judy and I got in a car and drove from Florida up to North Carolina. And I went around looking to where did I want to work, where did I want to work.
We were at the October market, and a good friend of ours, Lou Ripner, Compass Furniture in New Orleans, told me about this outstanding individual that he knew, Kerry Lebensburger. So Chuck and I are sitting in the office and we're interviewing Carrie, and we says, wow, this guy is pretty good. And I said to Carrie, I says, well, Carrie, you ready to go to work? He says, well, I don't know. He says, I guess so. And him and Carrie and Judy went to work and started selling furniture. So we've had just a wonderful relationship over the years, absolutely fantastic.
When they hired him, he said, I'd like something for Judy too. And so we kept the partnership going, and he did his thing and I did my thing. And 25 years later.
In a lot of ways, from Carrie's lessons to me has been very much similar to my father. My father's obviously important in my life, and Carrie, they both seem to have similar philosophies. Number one, they always lead with integrity. He never would ever allow integrity to slip by. Carrie, you've always held that as the single most important thing in your life. With that, the other great lesson was that you always sat there and said, make sure you protect your people. If you don't protect your people, you can't have their trust. The third was you always took responsibility for your failures with people. You held yourself accountable for what and who they are. And that was important. If you made a mistake, it's kind of like if you give a guy keys to an airplane and he goes and says, go fly the plane, and he's never flown a plane before, it's going to be a disaster. You would always make sure that you led, guided, and directed people to be successful.
One day Ron came in for a meeting with a retailer, and I said, I want to show you something before we go see the retailer. And we stopped at a store in Orlando. And we walked into the store, and Ron looked around, and we had created an all Ashley store. And he looked around, and he looked around, and he looked around, and he wanted to know, why aren't we doing more of these? And that was the beginning of the Ashley home stores. A dealer in Orlando realizing that the concept of GMROI would work for him because our distribution center in those days was in Orlando. And Ron walking around and said, this is a really good idea. We got to do this. And the home stores were birthed. And that's one of the proudest things that I've done here at Ashley is help create this 600 plus store chain around the world of Ashley branded stores.
He loves to see growth. He also has good vision to anticipate changes in the market, changes like today we have e-commerce that's coming on stream. I mean, he's been talking e-commerce for several years and pursuing it, pursuing new markets, just a real innovator and a real visionary.
We have a lot of family in this world, in our Judy Kerry world. We have our private family. We have 2 sons. One's a hematologist, oncologist. We have a son in Miami who's an attorney, estates and trusts. We have 7 grandkids. We have 2 fabulous daughter-in-laws who are both speech pathologists. We have our Ashley family. We're family with everyone at Ashley. Our hearts are with each one. We're there for their sorrows, we're there for their joys. We're family. You can ask anybody at Ashley.
Ashley's like the ultimate family. And you can see that in the marketing specialists, many of them who are here tonight. The fact that the marketing specialists will bring their kids into this business to work for them at Ashley tells you it's a family.
With you being highest in integrity, with the trust factor, standing up and protecting your people, all those qualities allowed you to be a leader. And that's what makes you special.
Our relationship has been absolutely fantastic over the years. I've never been closer to anybody than as Carrie and Judy over the years. They're absolutely perfect. And the thing about them is, you know, whether it's a small dealer or a large dealer, Carrie loves dealers. He loves dealers. He loves our sales associates. He's trained every single one of them over the years, every single one of them. And he educates and retrains twice a year. He takes that kind of an interest in every single person and every dealer. I'm just so proud of him for everything that he does in that regard.
I've been by Carrie's side almost 50 years, and every day I think he's extraordinary. And while he did not want to accept this award, I thought it's a chance for all these people whose lives he's touched, who he has helped to make extraordinary in their own way. Because he always says people can't do it his way, they have to do it their way. And that's why I'm glad he's here tonight, accepting this extraordinary award from an extraordinary business filled with extraordinary people who they know that we love with all our hearts.
Well, I am so happy to see Carrie and Judy along with Carrie get this wonderful award. It is so deserving, and we wish Carrie and Judy all the best. And after 24 years, we wish them many more years, good years at Ashley, and appreciate everything they do.